We're still talking about what went down at the White House Correspondents' dinner. Alyssa, you were saying?
I wanted to mention two things. I have already seen some folks on the right saying the left did this. The left did not do this. One individual actor who has his own agency, his own decision-making, who got radicalized however he may have did this. And I reject that language because it makes these things more likely to happen in the future.
Correct.
On the flip side, I also did see, if you were on some social media sites, do not make a martyr and a folk hero of this man. This is a bad actor who did something terribly wrong. He deserves his time in jail for it. This should not be a Luigi Mangione situation where people start wanting to emulate him and take up arms because he did. God forbid that. Both of those things need to be condemned.
Should we also make sure that this is not a mental moment that's happened? What do you mean?
And that may be. I think it's very,
you know,
I don't think people do this.
I don't think people know much about this guy except what we're hearing in bursts.
Well, he sent this email out to his family right before the incident, and so there's a little bit of insight there, but I don't think we know a lot about.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
About what caused this.
Yeah.
But on a much less serious note, I was really amazed at some of the reactions of some of the people after this near disaster.
Spit it out.
Michael Glantz, a top agent at Creative Artists Agency, ate his appetizer during the commotion, during the dinner, and I think we have video.
Bring it down.
And my spirit animals took some bottles of wine after the event.
Yep.
That man has seen some things.
That is Michael.
He has lived, that man, and that is Michael. But the attendees who, after all the commotion, took some wine with them, I saw myself in them.
No, But you know,
taking it back to the serious aspect and what you were just referring to, I also have seen a lot of people on TV blaming this on the left. And if we're going to be honest about this, the heated political rhetoric is going on both sides. Look, just last week, after Trump was attacking the Pope, the Pope's brother, who lives in Chicago, who lives in Illinois, had a bomb threat at his house. So, you know, this is a moment for people to take stock on what we can do and on what the people we support and like can do, not just the people that we don't like and support are doing. And we shouldn't be getting into a contest of who's better or who's worse. But the one thing that we can't argue about is that the guy with the biggest bully pulpit is Donald Trump. And I beg of him, after 3 close calls, to take time to reflect and give us an example, lead by example.
You know, this is not a left or right thing. This is just a bad situation, a really bad situation.